Καλησπέρα σας. Εγώ είμαι ο Σωτήρης ο Σαράντος και είμαι στη Digital SIMA, μεταξύ άλλων ο Product Manager της Micro και μαζί με την κυρία Tarek Nehal, που είναι Sales Engineer της Micro, θα σας μιλήσουμε για τις λύσεις XDR της Micro που αφορούν την οικογένεια Worry-Free. Η αφορμή γι' αυτό είναι ένα πρόμο που τρέχει για το 3, είναι ένα καλοκαιρινό promotion που δίνουμε κάποιες ιδιαίτερα μεγάλες εκπτώσεις στο κομμάτι του EDR, XDR. Θα σας εξηγήσουμε μετά λιγάκι και τη λύση και τα promotion, ώστε να μπορέσετε να τα εκμεταλλευτείτε. Καταρχήν, μιλάμε για EDR, XDR. Πιο αναλυτικά θα μας τα πει η Nehal μετά, αλλά θέλω να σας τα φέρω σε αναλογία καταρχήν ιατρικής, όπως μιλάμε τώρα, αυτή την περίοδο, με τα COVID, με αφορμή τα COVID, ουσιαστικά κάτι ανάλογο κάνουμε και με την EDR, XDR τεχνολογία. Τώρα με το COVID, κατάφερε ένα SEOs να ξεπεράσει τις άμυνες που υπάρχουν γύρω-γύρω, κατάφερε να περάσει τις αντιβιώσεις που υπάρχουν για να αντιμετωπίσουν τις ασθένειες και προκαλεί μέχρι και θάνατος. Όταν λοιπόν μολύνεται κάποιος, προσπαθούμε να βρούμε το σημείο κίνησης, προσπαθούμε να δούμε από τι προήλθε, από πού ξεκίνησε, τι το προκάλεσε. Προσπαθούμε να δούμε ποιος είναι ο άνθρωπος που το έφερε πρώτος σε επαφή. Γι' αυτό και όταν κολλάς υπάρχει ολόκληρο ερωτηματολόγιο με ποιους ήσουν παρέα, πότε πήγες εκεί, πότε έκανες εκείνο. Ποιοι άλλοι γύρω σου στον κύκλο σου έχουν κολλήσει. Τι συμπτωματολογία έχεις εσύ, τι συμπτωματολογία έχω εγώ, για να μπορέσουμε τελικά να βάλουμε ενδεχομένως καραντίνα τον άρρωστο ή να τον νοσηλεύσουμε. Και κάναμε όλη αυτή την ιστορία με τα τεστ και στο τέλος με τα εμβόλια για να μπορέσουμε όλο αυτό το θέμα να το αντιμετωπίσουμε. Αυτοί που ήμασταν κοντά με ασθενείς COVID, χρειαστήκαμε να κάνουμε κάποια COVID test. Να δούμε, έμαθα ότι ο τάδε κόλλησα κι εγώ. Όλο αυτό, κατά αναλογία, πρακτικά γίνεται και στην τεχνολογία EDR. Μπορώ να πω αυτό αφορά τα endpoint, αφορά τους servers. Για μας, στην Micro, αφορά και τα mail. Εξού και το XDR. Αναλυτικά και πιο επιστημονικά θα τα πει μετά η Nehal. Μιλάμε για τις κονσόλες για την οικογένεια προϊόντων Worry-Free Services. Εδώ πέρα υπάρχουν πρακτικά 4 προϊόντα. Τα 2 από αυτά ενδεχομένως τα ξέρετε και τα χρησιμοποιείτε ήδη. Είναι το Worry-Free Services, προστασία χρηστών και server με κονσόλα διαχείριση στο σύννεφο. Είναι το Worry-Free Services Advanced, που είναι επιπλέον email security. Είτε αφορά οποιονδήποτε email server, είτε αφορά ειδικά Office 365. Επιπλέον υπάρχουν 2 προϊόντα. Το Worry-Free Services με EDR, που στην πραγματικότητα πάνω στην πλατφόρμα Worry-Free Services ενσωματώνει τεχνολογία EDR, να βρούμε δηλαδή ποιο endpoint μολύνθηκε, από πού, να το βάλουμε καραντίν, να τρέξουμε κάποια remedies, κάποιες συνταγές για να το καθαρίσουμε. Και το αντίστοιχο ουσιαστικά στο Worry-Free Services Advanced είναι το Worry-Free XDR, που επιπλέον του EDR Worry-Free Services, επιπλέον του Worry-Free Services Advanced, έχει και ειδικό module για το Office 365, ώστε να λαμβάνει και από εκεί γεγονότα. Αυτό είναι πολύ μεγάλο πλεονέκτημα, δεδομένου ότι το 90% της απειλών είναι από το email και ουσιαστικά όχι μόνο βρίσκεις ότι το endpoint του Σωτήρη μολύνθηκε, βρίσκεις ότι αυτό έχει υποκληθεί από το mail αυτό, που το έστειλε ο τριαντάφυλλος, που το έχει στείλει επιπλέον στην Κωνσταντίνα και στη Μαρία, που μπορώ να τα βάλω quarantine ώστε να μην τους πάνε ή αν τα έχουν πάει να τα κάνω isolate endpoint. Βρίσκω δηλαδή όλη την πηγή της πληροφόρησης από το endpoint και από το mail και μπορώ να δω όλη τη διαδρομή της μόλυνσης, άρα να σφίξω τις ασφαλείες μου, άρα να μπορέσω να αντιμετωπίσω το πρόβλημα. Δεν αρκεί το αντιβάριος που έχω, όσο καλό και αν είναι. Η απάντηση είναι δεν υπάρχει 100% ασφάλεια. Με οποιοδήποτε λύση in policy security προμηθευτούμε. Και στη σύγχρονη εποχή το πρόβλημα είναι τα zero day attacks. Οι επιθέσεις δηλαδή που δεν έχουν pattern, που δεν έχουν τρόπο αντιμετώπισης, δεν τις γνωρίζουμε, όπως ακριβώς ο κορονοϊός. Πώς το αντιμετωπίζουμε αυτό? Υπάρχει λοιπόν η τεχνολογία EDR, XDR, ώστε αφού συμβεί κάτι, να μπορέσω να βρω πώς προήλθε, να μπορέσω να βρω, να αντιδράσω σε αυτό και να μπορέσω να σφίξω τα σημεία εκείνα στην ασφάλεια που μου επιτρέπουν τέτοιες μολύσεις. Πάνω σε αυτό το σχεδιασμό, και σας ξενεράω στο προηγούμενο slide, το πρόμο δίνει 55% έκπτωση στις τεχνολογίες XDR και EDR. Και ξαναγυρνάω εδώ. Ξαναγυρνάω και θα πάω μπροστά. Ουσιαστικά προσπαθούμε να φέρουμε κοντά σε τιμή το Worry Free Service EDR με το Worry Free Services, ώστε πλέον να μην πηγαίνουμε σε μία λύση απλή endpoint security, αλλά να έχουμε ενισχυμένη τεχνολογία και να φέρουμε ακόμη πιο κοντά τη λύση Worry Free XDR με τη λύση Worry Free Service Advanced, ώστε αντί να πάμε σε αυτή τη λύση με μικρό επιπλέον κόστος, να μπορούμε να πάμε στην advanced τεχνολογία του XDR. Όπως είπαμε, το πρόμο ισχύει από 5 έως 250 άδειες, ισχύει μέχρι τέλος Σεπτεμβρίου, είτε για 1 είτε για 3 χρόνια. Υπάρχει και ειδικό promotion για τους συνεργάτες. Μπορείτε να το επικοινωνήσετε μαζί μου και να σας πω ακριβώς τι γίνεται, ποια είναι τα βλήματα για τους συνεργάτες. Και ουσιαστικά θέλουμε να σας βοηθήσουμε. Σχεδιάσαμε αυτό το πρόμο με Denmark να βοηθήσουμε την τεχνολογία EDR να μπει στις επιχειρήσεις πιο εύκολα, πιο απλά και να αρχίσει η επιχείρηση, ακόμη και η μικρή, η SMB, να έχει υψηλότερα επίπεδα ασφαλείας από αυτά που μέχρι τώρα απολαμβάνει. Μαζί μας, όπως είπαμε, είναι η κυρία Tarek Nehal, είναι Sales Engineer της Micro. Θα μας αναλύσει λίγο περισσότερα αυτά και σε λεπτομέρειες για την τεχνολογία και σε λεπτομέρειες για το πώς αντιμετωπίζεται από την κονσόλα, αλλά και με ένα live demo που έχουμε ετοιμάσει στο τέλος. Στο ενδιάμεσο είμαστε πάντα και μας αρέσει και τη Nehal και εμένα η διαλλακτική. Ό,τι ερωτήσεις θέλετε μπορείτε να τις υποβάλλετε και διαδραστικά ενδεχομένως να τις απαντάμε. Nehal, it may sound Greek to you, but you may go on.
Yes, hello, Sotήρης.
I said good words about you.
I know that. By the way, kalispera everyone. So I know some Greek words. Let me just share my screen first.
Sure.
So, hello again, everyone. My name is Nehal. I'm sales engineer at Micro, dedicated for Greece, Cyprus, and Malta. So, I'm supporting fully technical the Greek people, and for sure, Sotήρης is my friend there. So, let me just introduce you the agenda for today. So we are going to introduce some attack challenges, the techniques and the behavior that makes us change our techniques or security techniques as well. And because of that, what makes it, the EDR is not enough for us, and that's why we introduce the XDR. So we will introduce in brief the XDR sensors, including the endpoint and the email security as well, the worry-free and the cloud app security. We will also introduce some third-party validation, where it highlights where Trend Micro is in the market. And at the end, I will do a walkthrough the demo through the worry-free console and worry-free XDR to understand more about how easy it is and how you can deal with. So at the beginning, maybe from the last 5 years ago, or especially during the quarantine last year, we are seeing that the cyber attacks are getting in their way. They are changing their techniques, changing their behavior and tactics in order to enter any environment. And during the last 5 years, we have reached the increase in the cyber security breach that reached out up to 67% in the increase in the last 5 years. So that means that when the organizations start to use some new technologies and deal with new environments, the attackers also are looking for the special tools and different ways to enter the organization and not allow you to detect, to avoid their detection with the antivirus, with whatever the security tool that you are using. As an example of this, we maybe have maybe some of you have received some email that is fake email. So the behavior of the attack is now acting from the email side, maybe from the email, maybe from the endpoint, or both together. So what's happening is that you maybe receive an email thread that is telling you that there is an attachment to the invoice, and this email that is predicted to be from a known vendor that you already know, or from a known employee, for example. And you as usually you download this file, and when it is exported on your device, you find out that there is a downloader that is created and added to the registry with the run key. And this run key actually allows the downloader to launch a setup with the registry access. And this allows the downloader to install different ransomware, and you find out that all your files are getting encrypted, and all your important documents as well. So in that case, we play the attacker is playing around with the main factor that the factor of the user behavior, let's say. So this is telling us the truth that it only takes one step for the attacker to enter your organization and to enter the environment. The one step that when you download the file, that do some that create some bad behavior on the background, that allows you to take some actions and so on. And you may think about that, I have a good antivirus. Why did I receive this kind of attack? Why do I have a ransomware? How did I get thrown into this? You maybe have an antivirus with a machine learning tool, or with the new different techniques that detect those kind of ransomware and those kind of attacks. But the fact says that in security, there is no 100% of protection. So, however, when the downloader, if you block this downloader from installing and create this malicious file using the antivirus solution, but the downloader will keep receiving a ransomware files, maybe from different emails. So this is the idea behind this. So endpoint protection alone, for sure, it's not enough. So organizations started to find out a way to record their endpoints. The first thing is that they apply the endpoint detection and response. that helps the user in the organization and help the security team to basically recording all the activities on the endpoint, collecting the logs, the security logs, the telemetry, and the detection of the endpoint, and then it correlate all these together, correlate these detections into their database and start to do their sweeping and hunting, and look for, and if you are if you already know, for example, the indicator of attack, you may look for this indicator of attack in the different endpoints who has this infection on their machines, and based on that, you take the action to either to isolate the machine, to quarantine this file, or do another root cause analysis through the endpoints to identify who else infected by this threat as well. So this actually helped to identify the threat among the endpoints, So it's a very good step. But
just a moment, go to the slide back. You're used to this. The data, the metadata are already existing in the points. You have to dig for it and find out what's happening. In case you realize that there is an attack on your network, you can go and find the data. What EDR does is that it does all the correlation for you without having to be an expert for this. So it's all automated. Plus, recently, that Michael, maybe you have received an email, found a threat that was at this kind of level about EDR. They sent an email that if you have EDR, use this tool to scan your network if you are affected. This is Internet of Conversation sweeping. I mean, I know that something happened to Sotήρης, and they're telling him, go check your network. I have this problem. So it's all automated. It matters of endpoint doing everything automatically without being an expert. And then, Nehal, you can go on.
Exactly as you mentioned, Sotήρης, the detection of the endpoint detection and response are able you to available to you to start the detection of the attack, to start to look for the indicator of compromise, any indicator of kind of attack that you look for, discover some endpoints that you might not aware that they already infected by this attack as well, or have the same indicator of this compromise or of this kind of attack. But actually, the endpoint detection and response focus on the endpoints. So focus on all the devices, reach out all the correlated data related to this device and help it to detect all together to identify the threat. But if you remember the example that we have mentioned at the beginning of the slides, we have talked about a scenario that where the main resource was the email threat. So in that case, if we want to look at not only the threat that is already on the endpoint, but we want to discover what's happening more, what is behind this. And remember that when you have an EDR and you identify this threat, every time you look for this threat, you need to look for what's happening and complete the story manually through all the environment, through the endpoint, through the network, or through the emails. So that means that, and highlight that the email protection is also part of this threat. Maybe it is the main source of the attack. And actually, this is the theory about it. The email is very critical to be added to the endpoint detection and response. Mostly, more of the attacks and the malware's infection source is coming from the emails. The many reports have seen that all the attacks and techniques, 94% of the malware is coming or started by just one click from the email. So this is very critical to be added to the EDR. Actually, this is what worry-free XDR is doing here. That it basically correlate the endpoint protection logs and telemetry from the worry-free service as an anti-malware service sensor, and correlated with what is coming out from the email. So it enables you to find out the correlated data and the correlated threat from the endpoint, to not only have the detection, but also have the complete story from the start, from the beginning of the attack, let's say from the email to the endpoint. So you can have the attack chain. So the telemetry is added to the XDR data lake, where it takes all this activity and start to automatically do the detection, do the sweeping and hunting, and the root cause analysis behind this threat, discovering the endpoint side detection, and also related to the endpoint to the email side if needed. So the endpoint, as an example of that, when you have a detection, for example, maybe you receive an eCard file that's already included, and maybe it's already detected and found by the anti-malware. But what is happening is that you not only identify the detection on the endpoint side, but also you identify the processes of what happened during this attack chain, and you can also find the source of this attack. So if there is the user, for example, download a file from the email, he maybe download this file and didn't figure out that this file is already has an infection, already have a ransomware or whatever, and there is a hidden processes that's happening in the background. And after that, you maybe detect that there is another endpoint infected by this file as well. But if you block this endpoint and block this file as an action, you may be you don't aware that maybe this user will still receive this kind of email threats. In this case, we need to not only identify but also block the email messages that's coming from this kind of threat. And this is what XDR or worry-free XDR is doing. It identifies the threat on the endpoint, and when it's related to the email, so I identify how many messages that this employee received, and who is the recipient, who else received this message, and if they are received different messages from the same sender, for example. So it identifies the source of this attack, the source of this email, who else received this email, and what kind of information or attachment belonging to the email as well. In addition to that, you will have the complete visibility of the attack story. So you can either do the action on the email side or the action or the endpoint side. So you can quarantine this email or delete it at all, or do some investigations on it to identify more about this source of attack. So in addition to that, it also gives you the summary of the event about how this attack analysis chain happened, and also gives you recommended actions with a step by step. What is recommended for you to add or deploy, to either change something in the policy, to isolate this endpoint as it is infected endpoint, to run an aggressive or manual scan on this endpoint and do more analysis and so on. So we also mention for the when we talk about the worry-free XDR or the capability of the XDR, we talk about the techniques and the features that we are using through this. But when we talk about the performance as well, it's very good to add how the XDR perform with all the coming threats. So when at the beginning, when the telemetry or the activity data alert the XDR that there is an event happening on the endpoint, and if some events happening on the emails, for example, or servers, it identifies first the non-bad files or the non-bad threat and the normal activities. And based on it, after these filters, the remaining activities are still included. So we may need to add more expert rules and some expert tools as well to identify the suspicious file, the suspicious activities. And after we filter this, we actually correlate these detections and send it to the XDR console as to have it as a meaningful data after all this correlation. So after the alert, you can choose to manually take your own detections, take your own actions, and also to or even show it as automatic response from the vendor or from the microsite. So from here, we're going to start talking about every sensor, the endpoint side, which is micro worry-free. As Sotήρης mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, but in Greek, I will mention it here in English again. The worry-free service suite is included. The first service, which is the main service for the endpoint protection. If you want to add the protection on the email and endpoint together, so you can have the advanced service for the endpoint and email as well for with worry-free service plus. And what we are mentioning today is worry-free XDR, which include the two suites together, adding to them the detection and response capabilities. So you can here add the investigation, the root cause analysis, and the advanced threats, in addition to the sandbox analysis as well. So you can submit automatically to the sandbox and identify and analyze different threats. So when we talk about the capabilities of or the features of worry-free, worry-free is a single convergent agent. So it's all-in-one protection. So through one single console, you are able to add your own policies to even to identify and protect advanced threats. So we add our pre-execution machine learning, in-memory detection, virtual patching to identify the holes inside the endpoints, what is really needs a detection, and using the advanced techniques like machine learning to identify the suspicious behavior on the endpoint. We also add the safeguard data, so we add for the compliances, for the authority of the files to be extracted from one endpoint to another. So we add the data loss prevention with the device control as well, to make sure that there is no important files extracted to an unknown user or something. In addition to that, when it comes to the filtering the URL and the websites that we have received and usually entered, so we add also the protection on the web repetition and web filtering as well. In addition to the application control, to identify and whitelisting the software or the applications on the endpoint as well, to either allow the application to be even run or not. And when it comes to the platform, we even support Windows, Mac, and many of the protection platforms as well. And for sure, this is in addition to the sandbox capabilities as a cloud sandboxing for more analysis of the suspicious detection. So when we use these techniques that I have mentioned, we are not using it at all or directly. We use it according to the four different stages of any attack. For example, if the entry point of the attack that may be coming from the email, that may be coming from the network, or a suspicious file through the USB. At that level, we apply some modules or features that identify the entry point of the attack. So it using the web repetition to either identify the URL, device control to identify this malicious device, USB or modem, and add in addition to the browser exploit prevention as well. So we check also the browser exploit from adding suspicious exploits. Is second layer, which is a pre-execution. Pre-execution, that means that there is a file on the endpoint, but it is not run yet, so it is still in the memory. So in this time, we add an advanced tools. So we not only filter but also add the machine learning, the pre-execution machine learning, the application control, check this file behavior and signature to identify if it is suspicious or not. And if there is a file is running directly on the registry and using the runtime, so we also add the detection module for the machine learning. So we add, in this case, the machine learning on the runtime mode to identify the behavior analysis of this file, of this process, and in memory, identify in-memory scripts as well. At the end, if someone is trying to extract files or try to communicate with a command and control or do a lateral movement and communicate from the endpoint to another endpoint, so we also add the web repetition, data loss prevention, and URL filtering as well.
Why is this important? Because it gives us performance in terms of security. Using each technology on each part, it makes the agent running with less CPU and memory on the endpoint, which makes it faster but still secure. Moreover, on runtime stage, consider that some threats are not using files, are fileless. We have the technology to also protect the endpoint from fileless attacks. This is generally also the funnel we saw in the past, in the previous slides, but also this slide are very important that show the technology being used in the right place in the right time. So it makes it easier and more secure. Please go on.
Actually, the agent that we are using in on the endpoint is a lightweight agent. which means that for all the techniques and the tools that we are using, however, it doesn't affect the performance and doesn't affect the consumption on the memory, on the endpoint. So you will not feel that it's hard to be added on the endpoint or affected.
Considering the security it offers, the impact is very small.
Yes, exactly. This was the endpoint part. What do we call it? The sensor for the XDR, the Wi-Fi. From here now, we will mention the second sensor in the XDR or the Wi-Fi XDR data link. The sensor that is applied on the email side as well. So here we talk about the Trend Micro Cloud App Security. Cloud App Security is a cloud-to-cloud integration. So it's an API solution, a security solution. So with the direct cloud-to-cloud integration using the vendor's API, whether the vendor is Microsoft, Google, Dropbox, or whoever, it enables us to basically deploy the cloud app security to the email and to the file sharing services to Office 365, for example, with a very simple deployment. So with our partnership with these vendors API, we're able to identify and protect the emails, which I mean by email, the endpoint, the inbound and the internal emails as well. And also provide the protection over the sharing services. Most of the companies today are going to Office 365 or Google Workspace or whatever, but to use the file sharing service nowadays. So what Cloud App Security is actually doing is that it acts as a protection for the email, for the inbound level, and also discover the internal threats between the organization, between the employees. And this is actually to find the 0 days threat and to find the hidden threat using the advanced techniques, advanced technologies, in addition to the sandbox analysis. So if you maybe have an already deal with the Microsoft bundle of which includes the security solution as well, or security part. But what a cloud app security is adding here also, it can be act as a second layer of protection. Generally in security, you can't have to rely on not only one layer of security, but cloud app security will then add as a layer that look for the internal threats as well. In addition to, if you are looking for the threats for the data loss, so we also add the data loss discovery. No exchange on premise. The cloud app security support the cloud services, the cloud file sharing, and the email, the cloud mailboxes as well. So for the technologies that we are using on cloud app security is that we are not only focused on the email, the normal email protection, but when we talk about the critical threats like business email compromise and credential phishing attacks, for example, we add our artificial intelligence to identify this kind of threats. For example, in the business email compromise detection, we add our behavior and intention analysis to first, when the email comes in and when it landed to the mailbox, we actually do the routing behavior and the email behavior of the email that is received, and identify if this is a normal routing or not. And with our expert rules, we're able to identify the similarity of this domain to identify the malicious domain. And we also add the intention on the analysis, where with our machine learning we add we detect and identify the urgency that is maybe included in the normal emails, whatever some financial request or some urgency that is requesting on the normal email that doesn't never act as a suspicious email, that doesn't include any URL or even include an attachment that is needed to be detected. So in addition to that, we maybe have some high profile users that we are caring a lot of them, like a CEO, that we need to identify and make them high and make them very important in our detections as well. Here is where we add the writing style DNA. So with the writing style DNA, also with the machine learning, we are able to identify if this normal email coming is trying to impersonate another important person in the organization or not. So it basically identify the normal email coming with the behavior of the writing style of the user that is normally sent this email, and based on that it send the user or the high profile user an alert and check, maybe able to check with him about if you send please check if you send this email or not, and also notify the user about this detection.
Just to mention here that again is like if you have a security officer checking all of your emails. This is what it does. But since practically this is impossible, we can do it with the technology. We all know companies that have been impacted by fraud mails that say, pay me to this money to this account. And the account does not belong to the company, belongs to another guy from somewhere. This is a legitimate email. I mean, it's a normal email. It has no threat on it. There is nothing to check for malware, but it has different bank account details. You can only find this thing by technology, by artificial intelligence, by checking the email as a security officer. And in addition to that, we can add DNA, writing style DNA. The same email, I write it different than Nehal. I use capitals, Nehal doesn't. I use question marks, Nehal doesn't. I use spaces, Nehal doesn't. So if I am the boss of the company and Nehal is in the accounting, if she gets an email from somebody improvising that it's me, saying, okay, pay Trade Micro this amount, you can understand that this email is not written by Sotήρης. It may be written for somebody else. And you get an alert. That's all you need, to get an alert. We know multiple cases like this, that the money is going to some guy abroad that is saying cheers to Sotήρης because you paid money.
Exactly, that this happens many times actually. When we receive the number of threats happening, we find out that business email compromise is one of the most critical attacks that's happening nowadays. So that's why we add this detection technology to identify the incoming threat and to learn the writing style of the person, of the high profile user, for example, in his mailboxes, and take the action accordingly, or even receive and just an alert about what is sending an email instead of me. In addition to that, we are also adding or provide the computer vision and artificial intelligence for the phishing attacks as well. So especially for the phishing attacks, the first thing we do is that we apply for sure the web reputation to identify the URL if it is malicious or not. But actually the web reputation is not enough to identify the credential phishing attacks. That's why we add the computer vision and artificial intelligence to be an important factor to identify to identify the form of the URL. As you see here in the screenshot, you maybe receive this URL and you find that you didn't realize that this is not from Microsoft URL. So you maybe simply enter your login credential and you find out that you are getting an attack, a phishing attack. So with the computer vision, we add this tool to identify the form and the elements of the website that you are receiving as well. An important thing here is that cloud app security as part of worry-free suites, it is also added as part of the dashboard integration. So we rely on the single management console, where from this.
Let's show this on the live demo.
Yes, exactly. We will see this in more details. This is just a simple summary or introduction for showing the dashboard integration together. Last thing is that for the numbers of the threats that we have discovered last year, we have discovered 16 million threats that's coming from the email, total threats. And from all of these threats, you can see that a large number of threats are coming from business email compromise, coming from phishing attacks, and even malwares. So this is what cloud app security is providing and targeting for in securing the emails and the cloud file sharings. Before we go into the demo, let me show you some proof points about where we are in the market. So according to Gartner, last year we have joined on the second year in a row in the Gartner evaluation, and we are able to happy to mention that we are one of the top 3 of the vendors in when it comes to the visibility and telemetry. And based on that, we are able to detect over 96% of the attacks on this evaluation. And also, even on the Linux attacks, we are also able to detect all the attacks that is happening on the Linux platform as well. This is our performance in MITRE ATT&CK evaluation. And also, when I talk about Forrester Wave and in the XDR bundle, so I provide the endpoint, email, and even the cloud, the server side as well. We are in the leadership in the endpoint, in the email, on all the services, and even on the detection and response, especially even last year. So Sotήρης, do you want to add anything before I jump into the live demo?
No, I will follow up later.
Okay.
At least I think so. Maybe I'll give you some time for the live. You see that Threat Micro has the technology to answer the questions about threats coming to your endpoints, coming to your emails. You add layers of security, one on the point, one of the mail, and mail security provided by Office 365 is not enough. this is proved by many security vendors. The advantage of using XDR is that you can get data not only from endpoint, but also from your email. You can correlate them and get the results. And in the meanwhile, you don't have to be a security expert. Even me, that I'm a sales guy, I can understand what happened. I can understand, let's say, in the first stage, what to do, how to react. I can say to my engineers, okay, we have this problem, go do this. This is all about what SMB platform is for, what worry-free platform is for. Sorry. In one console, we have in one agent, we have all the security needed. You don't have to be an expert, you just have to follow the rules and everything will be okay. Here we see the demo. This is a console you may know because it is a typical console of worry-free, but it just added 2 or 3 more things about security, about EDR. Nehal, I can say all night long. If you want to interrupt, go.
No problem. This will explain more from the console side. So if you normally deal with worry-free, you maybe deal with the endpoint side, and you know that the dashboard include all the summary detections about the endpoint, about the number of threats and infections and detection time and so on, and who is infected, which agent is not deployed, which machine is not deployed the agents and so on. But what we also add here is that cloud app security is part from the console as well, and this is to have the same threats but on the email side. So this is the services that cloud app security protects. So the overall threats will be coming through the different services that you are already have in use: Microsoft Teams, Dropbox, OneDrive, Gmail, Exchange Online, or whatever the service that you already using here. We also have specific detection that's coming from the business email compromise and the phishing attacks. If I go through the detection events for the XDR part, which is now available here.
This is now exactly. This is the new module that when you have EDR, it is added on worry-free services.
Exactly. When you have the EDR, this part of module which is the detection and response, is also added to the same console, which is more easier for you to manage. So with the detections here, we receive all the attack chain that happened during the last time and so on. So for example, if I do check the specific event that happened, this event gives you a summary about this event, how it is infected, how this malware, and what is the action that's already taken. This is the automatic action and automatic analysis, and also gives you some recommended actions as well to be take care of and take in addition to when it comes to the email or the endpoint, or what investigation and actions that is needed to be as part of this object as well. If we go down, we will see the attack chain. This is the scenario of what happened. So an endpoint or an infected part or file is found out here. This infection, normally you maybe get this through the normal worry-free then as an endpoint and so on. But when you add the part of the email and the XDR, you will identify from where this file is coming from. So you will find out that there are some processes that happened in order to reach and deploy this file on your machine. And you will find out that this was all coming from the one source of the attack, the Outlook. So you will find that number of messages that is already received by one recipient who received 12 messages of the attack. And so you will get to know information about the message, what is the specific file that was included, and about the email messages as well. The 12 mail messages that's coming from maybe the same person who sent this email and who received this email, how many people or how many users in the organization received this, and if this email include any kind of attachment or URL. So we can also check the attachment that is already that's already here, and you can either have the action according to this, to either isolate this endpoint or this user, to investigate more on the email side, or even block this attachment from the endpoint as well. And after the look, if we look at another event as well, we may receive another suspicious, I think malicious object. No, but this is on another endpoint and another IP address. But however, you can do another investigation on the email and threat investigation on the endpoint as well, and start to do the root cause analysis if you want to identify more and do an advanced analysis. And based on that, you can also you can also add add a suspicious object, for example, as part of the sandbox analysis. So if you enable the sandbox analysis, you are also able to automatically submit the files and the URL for more analysis.
Now, with the EDR, we also have the ability to have sandbox analysis as a service on that point, not only in the email. With what if services with EDR, we'll have EDR technology plus sandbox analysis.
Exactly. So you can see here, for example, the all the objects that's already suspicious object that is sent to the virtual analyzer. And if you already know some suspicious object that is defined by you, you can also add it here as a suspicious list in the threat intelligence part.
Before going to email, check also that the policy is a button to enable it. Let's go to the endpoint.
Which endpoint do you want to?
Whatever, the below.
Another.
No. You go to the policies to create the policy. No, go to the below the dashboard. Exactly.
Okay, so you mean that the agents that's already.
Yeah, if you want to configure it, it's just a click. And add try to
add security agent, yeah.
No, go to configure global settings. Let me take.
This is the same.
No, yeah. Go back. I will request a remote control.
Okay.
You go here. You go to here. Let's say here to configure policy. it is just for the processor, just a click on off.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
And
no.
even the sample submission as well.
The same is with vulnerability protection, which I recommend to enable it on everything, which is does virtual patching. You have it even in worry-free services, this feature, just enable it. But if you have worry-free EDR, you also have these two buttons here. So please go on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. This is a summary. Actually, it is very easy to use. Nothing needed
exactly.
to be.
It is very easy to
added.
use.
Yeah, nothing exactly to be needed to be added or even configured. And even when you get started, you will find out the steps of how the configuration or installing the agent, the integration, the policies, and so on. So you can even go directly if you are in the first time dealing with the console as well. So by one click is the action for the policies, and by one click is also the action on the detection and response as well. So yes, as I mentioned here, if this file is you want to block it, you can block it, and even on the email side, you can also have the action. It's not appeared here, but you can you can quarantine the machine, quarantine the email, or even delete it. From the endpoint side, you can isolate this endpoint, and so on.
Okay, go to the email now. Dashboard. Cloud app. From here, we will go directly to the Cloud App console. Open console. Go down here. No. Here.
You can take the control if you are looking for something.
Yeah. From here, we can go directly to the console. Open console. It's a demo. You don't have it. Go to Cloud App.
Just give me a moment. I will share my screen as well.
Okay.
Okay, back again and going through the console of Cloud App Security. So if you go directly to the console here, you will also find the dashboard, including the summary of the threat and the services that you already enabled. Yeah. And if for any other services that needed to be needed to be provisioned here, you can also select, and just by step by step here you can also add it. So there is just a quick few minutes of deployment.
You just go to the service, you add it, in task to the administrative credentials for the Office 365 or the Gmail, you provide them, and everything is okay. Nobody gets no understanding. It's a smooth operation.
Exactly, and when you want to add the policies on different services, you can add it from the advanced threat protection part, or go directly to the here choose summary. So let's go to the advanced threat protection policies. So here you can see all the services that's already provisioned on the console. So for example, if you want to add exchange online policies, so this is you also receive a default exchange or even you can add your own policy to be applied on the exchange or whatever.
The default policy is already done to be monitor only, so there is no interruption in your email. You monitor for some time and you decide which level of security is suitable for your company, which is very, very easy. The same for the rest.
Actually, the policy is applied based on the best practice of so you can see all the recommendation and so on, but the action will be taken by from you can add it here if you want to have it in a monitoring mode or different actions or whatever. So you basically apply the rules on the Exchange online server for the advanced on spam protection, on malware scanning, on file blocking, web reputation, and virtual analyzer as well. So you add your own rule of the level of detection of the rule. You also add the detection of any kind of specific malware or the gray mail to enable it or not. Also identify the writing style, DNA of the in business email compromise site. So you either choose to when you receive a business email compromise, you can choose to notify the sender, notify the administrator, and do specific notification that the administrator will receive. So you can customize it as well. And for sure, the actions will be taken according to the threat. So according to business email compromise, phishing, ransomware, and malicious spam. All these policies, as I mentioned, by default is applied as a best practice. So here is the quarantine, just the quarantine actions. And this is in case that you want to analyze it using the cloud sandboxing. So when you enable the virtual analyzer, these kind of attacks will be sent directly to the virtual analyzer and start to analyze this threat. And based on that, you can also add your own actions on the virtual analyzer. And for sure, there is a notification in every single policy here. So whatever the notification that you want to receive and want the user to be received as well.
But also it is very detailed logging and guaranteeing tab that you have all the details of the security. So you can do whatever you want with the security level.
This is easier for anyone who want to have a customizable notification, customizable action. So there is a variety of actions, a variety in dealing with the policy as well. And it is just by one click. The same here for file blocking. You choose if you have a specific file extension that you want to block it from receiving this between the employees. If you have some compressed file that you want to block with specific extension, and what actions that you want to add on this file to replace it. If this file, for example, received by an employee, and you want to, instead of delete this file, you want to replace this with a text file, enable notifying him that this file is malicious and cloud app security identified as blah 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 and so on. So you can replace this file with a name and with a text as a description of the detection, for example, to just notify him about what's happening there. And also, if you want to add the data loss prevention as part of the compliances, you have also a compliance template. We have more than 200 templates that is already added here, so you can of the known templates according to many compliances. So you can automatically choose it from here, or if you have your own template that you want to add, customize, or even import, you can add it as well.
This is very important because you also, besides your emails, you also take control of your OneDrive. The files that are on OneDrive are not checked by anybody. If I have something on OneDrive, I can send it to Nehal any day, anytime. If this is a high risk document or very, very confidential, there's nobody to check me unless I have a data loss enabled. And the advanced part is that I can do it custom based on the rules I need for my company.
In addition to the template, also, if you want to identify specific data that you may receive from the messages, so you have also a list including some expressions that are not allowed or authorized, or some keyword lists that you want to add also. So maybe if you find out an expression including an email address or including a mobile number, identified number, IBAN from the banking account, for example, so you can take the action based on this identification of the expression. So from that, you can add it then to the policies and apply this policy to identify this expression and take the action. And this actually allow any kind of data exfiltration or any kind of data exfiltration, whatever, banking account or important data. And finally, you can also see all the quarantined filters on the services. It's all logs here as well. So you just choose which service that you are looking for and which quarantine, for example, malware scanning. So it filters all the malware scanning that has the action of quarantine.
I just want to mention that logging is only for security logs, because this API with the Trend Micro takes place after Microsoft. I mean, when I send an email, it goes to Microsoft. So all the logging of did I receive the email, did I send the mail, it's up to Microsoft. You have to search it on Microsoft. But when it comes to security, all the security logs are here.
Exactly. Cloud App Security also act as a second layer of protection. So if Microsoft is added as a part of gateway of the email, so the email will filter the first by Microsoft gateway, and after that, when it enters the email, Cloud App Security will grab it and scan it again. Scan it with business email compromise, scan it with phishing attacks, scan it with the artificial intelligence that we are using for the inbound scan and for the internal threat scan as well. This was mainly what Cloud App Security and how it acts. As you see, it's very easy, direct configuration.
It's very straightforward, and it's connected to the endpoint, and you get the XDR details in one place. That's important. Get security in multiple layers, and it's all connected. So you can go from one another and check what's happening.
Exactly. At the end, you will also find the threat detections as part of worry-free business services. with the attached with the endpoint as well. So revert back to the slides if Sotήρης, if you want something to add before I go.
No, you can go.
Okay, this was actually my end of the presentation and the demo. I hope you enjoy this easy, straightforward configuration and demo. And feel free to ask me, or even so for sure you ask Sotήρης, and this is my contact information as well for any details.
John, regarding email security platform, Cloud App is not needed with XDR. I mean, you can have it without XDR. But if you want to have XDR, it's better to have Office 365 to protect and have Cloud App. Otherwise, it's not working. The X part, it works only the EDR. Did you understand? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, actually, the protecting Office 365 having many details of threats, details of detections. That's why it's a meaningful detection to be added as part of the sensor on the XDR. That's why it is the first part and as an email detection even added instead of or not email security but cloud app security. But because cloud app detects the inbound, outbound, the inbound and internal threats that's needed in the detecting the attack and how the full discovering story. So do you have any more questions that we can discuss now?
Are you okay, everybody? Do you want to say something more? We call it a day and we go home for a coffee? Okay. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can attend to me or to Nehal, whatever. Thank you again for your attendance. Me and Nehal and me are very glad you were able to watch it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nehal.
Thank you, Sotήρης. Thank you all for joining the session, and feel free to contact directly me or Sotήρης. Have a good day all, and have your good coffee as well.
Okay. Take care, Nehal. Thank you.
Okay.
Ευχαριστούμε
Thank
πάρα
you.
πολύ.